All right. I remember our first message in 2018, so I'm together with Max today, where you were part of the B2B marketers and founders community. And back then, I remember you were still the product or head of growth, well, not even that function of Mr. Green. Could you walk us a little bit through that journey?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was I think back in 2018 when you guys started a Facebook group. I think I was actually one of the first members, which was a lot of fun, and especially to see it grow in the years after to quite a respected community. Yeah, I was working at Mr. Green, first in sales, after that in marketing, and eventually leadership and product focus as well. I I started my career at Mr. Green and I was literally just selling Tesla leasing contracts by phone to these Dutch entrepreneurs. And after doing that for like a year and a half, I thought this process, it's so repetitive. We should automate this process, right? We sell one car, it's a Tesla Model S. There's a couple of colors, couple of interior options, couple of battery options, and that's pretty much it. So why are we selling this car by phone and not on a platform? Well, back then, there weren't any digital leasing company platforms out there. So we set out to build the first one actually. And the way we did it was actually through experimentation. So using a bunch of tools like Typeform and ActiveCampaign and Zapier and I don't know, DocuSign or something like that to set up like this automated sales customer journey, but then led from a marketing point of view. Um, and that funnel, that tool-based funnel, actually it worked. It got us some customers in, and that was the moment that they decided, okay, we need to go into a digital transformation and hire a whole like tech team and create this platform where people can log in and yeah, configure their own car and select the contract variables and sign it digitally, and that's what we did. I worked there
So
for
it
four
was not
years.
a tech platform. It was literally like nothing
Yeah,
out there when you started.
starting out, it was making phone calls. It was sending quotes by email in this very like very old school software with like an interface of like the 90s. It was very old school. And yeah, leaving voicemail messages and sending SMS, like text messages to people asking like, "Hey, could you please respond? I made this quote for you. Do you want to buy it or not?" And it was a very interesting period because it was it was like brutal sales, like calling, sending quotes, leaving voicemails, and that like I think that has really shaped me as a marketer as well. Doing sales before going into marketing really helps you understand like it in sales you only have one job is to understand how you can sell to that person, and you understand how you can sell to that person by asking questions, right, and understanding their business or their interest or their pain points or their needs. And once you discover that, then you can effectively sell to them. And I guess marketing is the same. Yeah, it does the same thing, but it's like one to many instead of one to one.
So you actually walked in as a sales role, not even a marketing role.
Yep, I did.
Oh, that's great. And so, I mean, now, of course, you're the founder of Unmuted, right? But so walk us through first what it is for the new people and why did you decide to go into the agency side of it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I always told people that I would never start an agency because that's the most silly business model out there, right? Trading time for money, no scalability whatsoever. Coming from a growth marketing background,
Yeah.
everything is about scalability, and then you go and start an agency. Who does that? So that was me a couple of years ago. Um, had all these ideas, starting SaaS companies, product companies, stuff like that. But yeah, you also have life responsibilities in paying a mortgage and yeah, stuff like that. You need some money to survive, and I wasn't ready to go on this like investor road, and I didn't find any like idea that I was like super excited about to go all in on like a SaaS or like a product driven company. So I thought, why don't I just start a company that focuses on something that I know, and where I can easily, like in this sense, trade time for money, and then hopefully by doing so create like experience and a network and resources to hopefully one day also, yeah, initiate potential software companies.
Oh
So that
wow.
was a little
So
bit like the idea or the reason to why I was okay with starting an agency.
yeah, it's the same as me, I would say. So I think back then, I think we're talking a few years ago, I also said B2B SaaS is such a cool space, but I have no idea. So why don't I start an agency around B2B SaaS? And this is like 5 years ago already or something like that. It's like, why don't
Yeah,
I just help people and then along the way figure out what I want to build versus instead of like just
exactly,
building without knowledge and just now you're actually getting paid to learn at the same time.
exactly, exactly.
And what do you guys do, if I may ask? Like, if you would pitch it like in an elevator pitch of 1 minute, what would you position and what would you say you're doing?
Yeah. So you know how like startups and scale ups, they always struggle with growth, right? They need to grow, they raise capital, they need to grow. They have like certain goals, certain targets they need to meet. Um, and they built this product, um, awesome product, hopefully, if they find product market fit. But where do you find the people that are actually a specialist in helping you scale your product? Especially in B2B, it's even more tough. Like 95% of all people that go into marketing go and do like consumer marketing, like B2C,
Hmm.
e-commerce, FMCG, that type of marketing. B2B marketing, and especially B2B marketing in software industry, it's like very small percentage of people act like really go and start a career in that environment. So these companies, like these B2B software companies, they can't find the right people. They can't find the people with the right mindset. They can't find the people that come up with the right strategy that matches their business model. So they end up
Hmm.
with just a marketer that's probably skilled and trained in B2C marketing, and then they're gonna apply that, like those learnings, on a B2B model, and it just doesn't work out.
Hmm.
So what do you see all these B2B software companies do? They hire a lot of salespeople. And through salespeople, they get customers in, they survive, they become profitable, but at some point they plateau because, yeah, sales will always be sales. It's always a one-on-one relationship, whereas marketing can like really allow you to yeah, to go bigger and attract more buyers um, to your company. And that's where like around that, on that notion, that's how we positioned the agency. So we focus on B2B tech. It's a growth marketing agency. We created a program which is essentially a 12-month engagement, because we believe you need to embark in a longer journey than just one project and see how it went, and then determine whether or not they can finance another
Hmm.
project. Like when that's the case, it's not going to work out anyway. So, and we call
So
this
you
the
have
growth
to have a
program.
12-month engagement before starting with you guys.
Yeah,
Oh wow, that's a cool
yeah,
take. That's but do you
yeah.
also like have like a what is it called nowadays? Like a proof of concept of like 3 months, and then they can decide to move in for 12 months, or they have to sign for 12 months.
Yeah, so typically, some like in some occasions we would accept saying like, okay, we sign a 3 month deal, and then after that it's yeah, like if you're still happy after the 3 months, then we go and do the full 12 months after that. Um, but we found that most companies um, that really understand this way, they see like this as the most normal um, yeah, enrollment criteria. They're like, yeah, like obviously it should be a long-term collaboration because growth is not a one-off occurrence. So how could you even achieve something in a short period of time? So For most of our companies or customers, it's more than normal.
Got it. Maybe a weird question. Why 12 months? Why not 8, 9, 15?
Yeah, I don't know, 12 months, a year. I think it makes sense. Um, After 12 months, collaborations still go on. But it could be that after 12 months, they're like, okay, cool. Could you show us the ropes, give us some training, and we'll take it from there. And if we need some like additional resources or skills, then we'll give you a call. But like at least go for 12 months and then see where we're at. Maybe everything is going well. We keep on working together. Maybe it's in a good position, but you want to take over. That's also fine with us.
Okay, cool. That's I always wonder why 12, but yeah, okay. Maybe a question, but before we get started, because we're still in the intro, I just wanted to know like when you were young, did you always want to be like an entrepreneur, or was it, or what did you want to become when you were like little?
Great question. I'm not sure if I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. I do come from, I wouldn't say an entrepreneurial family. I mean, my father was an entrepreneur, my uncle was an entrepreneur. Um, what I wanted to become, I always wanted to become my uncle. So, and he was an entrepreneur. So in that sense, yes. But that's also because like uh, he really gives back to the world as well. He opened orphanages, um, built schools, gets like kids in there with no like opportunity or reasonable future. And I always thought that was like very noble to be able to do that. Like if you gain certain amount of wealth through your company, then being able to give back to the less fortunate, I always thought that was
Hmm.
quite cool. So yeah, I really looked up to him when I was younger.
Okay, so the uncle you wanted to become, and then a way to also give back to the community. Is
Yeah.
that maybe something for future, but is that something on your roadmap? Do you want to give something back to the community of the earnings, or is that on the roadmap, or is that already there?
It's not like clearly defined on the roadmap. I mean, I do like to offer help to as many people as possible. Like you probably get an infinite amount of DMs on LinkedIn as well, asking like people asking for time, and I like when I can, then I always try to at least give my 2 cents or do a quick call and see if I could help somebody out. Um, Especially people like not especially, but also like a lot of people that are still in college that have no clue what type of career they should pursue. And like for me, I was in a similar position where all my friends went to like corporates, like large enterprises. And here I was working for Mr. Green, which was like a six people company when I joined. It was like a small startup, never but like nobody ever heard of Mr. Green before. And everybody's like, yeah, what's this company? Like that's not gonna be any successful company, right? And then yeah, after 4 years, it is a successful company and everybody knows you were part of it and people think it's cool. But when you leave school, you don't know about these like small companies because you haven't seen them on television. So I always try to like say to people like find these um like hidden champions and go work for them because it can really define your career in a different way than yeah going to work for this large enterprise.
Yeah, it's weird when you like graduate and it's like I'm not working for a Deloitte or the biggest marketing agency out there or whatever it is.
Yeah,
It's easy, but if that agency is not growing or like it's already has this fixed structure, your
yeah,
growth most of the time is quite limited at the beginning because you then it's like defined Deloitte, for example, they have like defined levels, everything is structured, you need to do certain X before you can do Y, which at Mr.
exactly.
Green you kind of I guess defined it yourself. You went from like sales to marketing, then product, all of these things because you define it for yourself. I assume.
It was an MBA in practice, literally. It was an MBA in practice.
I love that word, MBA in
Yeah,
practice. I should write
yeah,
that down. Writing that one
yeah.
down for later on.
So that would be like that's often part of my advice like when people like seek out to like hey what should I do and like find this company where you can get a like an MBA in practice because probably yeah, it's gonna be more meaningful, and you will learn probably more than from reading these books. But that's just
Hmm.
my take. Like, yeah, that's just my opinion.
No, but it's true though, because you start the conversation with, most marketers when they come in, they think about all these fashion brands, or like when they
Sure.
define marketing as, the fashion brands they see some Facebook ads from, I don't know, Zalando, whatever it is.
Or Coca-Cola or Heineken or like car brands or stuff like that. And yeah, sure.
And they're like, okay, that's where I want to work because that looks cool. And that's how they define marketing.
Yeah.
But most
Well,
of the time they
it's
don't
known.
see B2B SaaS.
It's known to them. Like, you don't see any B2B SaaS company advertising on television, right? Because that doesn't make sense, because the audience, like, it is there, but a very, like, it's like very small portion compared to all the other people that are seeing your ads, and that you definitely don't want to get on your website, because that will definitely dilute your traffic reports.
No, it's true. And I just wanted to know, like, because you started out then in B2B, why the interest in B2B and not B2C? Why didn't you go for like the Coca-Colas in this world?
I mean, Mr. Green was, like, in a way it was B2B, in a way it was B2C, it was like B2B to C, something like that. So
Mm,
typically, like, the decision making unit was one person, like the owner of the company. And in some cases, when we sold to larger corporations, it was like a fleet manager that had to decide which leasing company they want to collaborate with. So that was a more like traditional B2B setting. So that was the first introduction. A lot of the customers that we work with were like small SMBs working in this like B2B setting. I remember this one customer, I think he sold like small like sinks for that he sold to large hotel chains, like bathroom sinks. I'm like, like, what's this business? And then, yeah, obviously he
you're
has to
making money
send
selling
over,
sinks?
yeah, like, and then the guy has to send over his like financial report, right? Because we need to verify if he could afford the leasing car. And then you see like this million euros of revenue on a yearly basis, because apparently he got like contracts with like big hotel chains. And like, now, like, now we're talking, like, nobody knows this guy, but he's running a like very profitable business. And I'm like, okay, this is gangster. I want to know more about this about this B2B stuff. And then after my time at Mr. Green, I started working for this B2B SaaS company called ShopPop, target
Hmm.
audience e-commerce. So that's where I really learned, yeah, I really learned the whole B2B marketing practice, B2B SaaS environment. And then, yeah, after like 2 years working there, it was COVID. I was working from home, and then I got like messages from people from other companies asking like, "Hey, you know your way around B2B marketing in a SaaS environment. Could you help us out?" And then that's how I found a couple of customers and turned it into an agency.
So it was like pretty organic, you would say. It's like, okay, you probably have seen this before, just come for me now.
It was extremely organic. Like, I wasn't like, yeah, I was working from home for this company, so you have more time, right? It was COVID. You were sitting home. Everybody was looking at like, can I do some side project, or can I build a company, or can I build a product, or can I create a course or something like that? And then, yeah, it was like in 2 or 3 weeks time, where three companies actually messaged me and asking like, hey, could we collaborate with you? And then I was like, okay, that's enough to sustain myself, and still have some time left to, I don't know, build a business, or come up with a decent business model, or um, do all the business administration. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then, yeah, I quit my job and started Unmuted.
Damn, nice. It's always nice to hear the stories where they just like, okay, fuck it, because you still
Yeah.
like most people do get the DMs or the requests, but are afraid to still make the jump to like full time because could be one time. It's like, okay, what do I do after that? What happens if this
Yeah,
is gone? And then they just block and they quit. But you're like, okay, fuck it, let's go and see see where it goes.
that was the opportunity. It was right in front of me, and then I saw it, and I was like, okay, I think now's the time.
And before we get into the next topic, where it's more about learning as B2B marketer, I just wanted to know, like, is there something that you wish people knew from your past or right now that most people don't know?
That most people don't know about me. Yeah, difficult question. I mean, after posting on LinkedIn for 5 years,
You're an open book.
you're pretty much an open book. Um, yeah, I think I'm always quite open in that sense about who I am and what I do like or what I don't like. I mean, I did like what I mentioned back in the days when I was still in college. Um, all my friends went to these like big corporations and enterprise, and there I was like, okay, I'm gonna work at this startup. So that was quite an insecure period
Mm,
period of my life because I thought it looks like everybody is going for this like big corporations and I'm the only one not. So probably I must be doing something wrong, right? So that was
exactly.
a pretty insecure time in my life because I thought I was making the wrong decision and I kept getting feedback on why I made the wrong decision because nobody understood what I was doing. So clearly I made the wrong decision. Otherwise people would be like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. But now, yeah, fast forward like 6, 7, 8 years later, you see that these people that worked worked for 4 or 5 years at these corporates, they now come to me and asking like, hey, I want to work for a startup or I want to work for a tech company.
Hmm.
How should I approach it or can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then that's a really nice, that's something that I enjoy that happens. But yeah, that was definitely an insecure period of my life.
It's weird how things turn out because I still remember when I think it was 17, people like at their 17, like at the last year, most of the time they ask you like what you're gonna do, like where
Yeah.
are you headed, university, non-university. And I remember this class, like they were like, yeah, I'm gonna be a lawyer or I'm gonna study, in this city, this like very typical things. And then it came to me, it's like, yeah, I'm moving to China. And these guys were like, yeah, yeah, whatever. It's all good. And then on the 6th September of 2000, or I think on the 6th of September, I posted on Facebook, like, off to China. These were like, what? But yeah, indeed, it's like this everybody's going that route and you're going the other way. And
Yeah.
then you're thinking, am I the weirdo here? Because like 99% is doing that way, so I must be the weirdo. But then you realize there's a lot more people that are making those kind of decisions, but they're just not in the same room as you are.
Yeah, exactly. And there's this nice expression, I don't know if I say it the right way, but when everybody zigzag or when the world zigzag, like when everybody's going left, just go right, and very often you will end up in the place where you truly belong.
Exactly. Oh man. Talking about, the learnings and all those things. I know you follow quite some courses like Growth Tribe, the AI course, the growth hacking course, and I see you follow a lot more. Um, First of all, what do you like? What are great places to learn about B2B marketing? Like, where do you keep yourself up to date, or how do you keep your team up to date of the latest things that they need to know?
Yeah, great question. Um, Back in the days, I used to learn a lot about marketing by just signing up to a lot of tools and platforms, like sign up to their free trial. But then everything that they I tried to be very aware of that.
And what were you
Emails
trying to learn there? What were you trying to learn by
emails I
signing up?
received, what are they how are they trying to nudge me? Retargeting ads I all of a sudden started to see, why are they showing me this ad? When I click on the ad, where do I actually land? What do they actually say on the landing page? How are they trying to like personalize that experience? So reverse engineering what other companies were doing, that really that was my way into online marketing, digital marketing. Then 6 years ago, I guess, Growth Tribe created this course around growth hacking. Not a big fan of the term growth hacking. You will rarely hear me say the term growth hacking. I always talk about growth marketing. Um, it's probably dissimilar. like it's similar, growth hacking, growth marketing. I just don't like the word growth hacking, and that's all. I choose growth marketing um, as our agency category. But yeah, I took that course of Growth Tribe. It was it was transformational. The content was so good. The community around it was extremely good. The resources around it, like they had downloads, PDFs, ebooks, guides, tutorials, everything in a vault, um, which which allows you to do some like additional self-education, and that was truly transformational. I started following a lot of American marketers. I joined a lot of American communities on Facebook, on Patreon. I signed up for a bunch of email newsletters. There are really good ones out there. I really, like the past couple of years, I really enjoyed marketing examples from Harry Dry. He's a legend. He's a fun guy as well. Um, Unfortunately, he hasn't been posting that much lately. I think he's cooking up something sweet in stealth mode. But yeah,
Or he got bored.
yeah, or he got bored. I have no clue. But yeah, these like that's always the thing, right? If you want to learn email marketing, either go to YouTube or just go and dig in communities and find messages where people referred newsletters from email marketing experts to people that were asking how or where should I learn email marketing, and subscribe to the email marketing pro newsletter. And then probably this person is going to try to sell you email newsletter, like an email marketing course and something like that. And if you don't have the money, just try to read everything around it, all the free bits and pieces. And I guess that's how you learn. Um, but yeah, like some courses, communities, following the right type of people, following the right type of companies, that really
Why
helps.
American marketers, by the way? Like, what's up? What's wrong with Europe? What's wrong with Asia? Well, why American?
It seems like they have been ahead of the curve. Like they're always ahead of the curve.
Hmm.
Always. Everything that happens there, 3 years later, it happens here.
And 5 years later, it comes to Belgium. We're
And
five
then
years.
5 years later, it goes to Belgium. No, but that's just my experience. But yeah, I'm pretty sure like there's kick-ass marketing being produced or created or conceptualized in every country. But it seems like America is this crazy place where everything happens.
Maybe we should move there if we want to really learn. But
Or
yeah,
visit
we can just
more
follow
often.
them on Twitter. That's fine,
Yeah.
or on LinkedIn. But it's true. Like I feel they're always ahead of the curve on like if you read about ABM, like ABM was like already institutionalized like years ago. Where now everybody's like, oh, ABM, that's something new. But
Yeah,
we'll talk
that's
about that in a second. But
cool.
it's crazy. Um, so, but it's interesting. So basically, you're saying, okay, tools. Want it like the tools you're trying to just sign up, see, reverse engineer
Yeah,
newsletters, people where people ask about something, and then they'll see who they recommend, and that's what you sign up to.
yeah,
And just American marketers.
yeah.
um, if you think about B2B more, because let's say that you're coming from B2C, what are like the top skills you would advise people to learn when they come to B2B, or is there no difference for you?
Copywriting, number one skill in all
Why?
cases. Yeah, I mean, words can help you attract, words can help you convert. And that's essentially what you're doing with marketing, right? Like telling stories to attract interest, attract readers, attract visitors. And words can help you convert readers, visitors. And that's what you do. So copywriting is like the number one skill. For me, I mean, in any case, if you wanna gain traction, you need to know your way around like traction channels. Could
Hmm.
I could either be paid or organic. Personally, I'm a big fan of organic. We do a lot of organic marketing activities at Unmuted, which is rare for growth marketing agencies. It seems like most growth marketing agencies are actually more
Paid.
performance marketing agencies, paid
Yeah,
agencies.
with a
We
nice
do all
layer to
paid
it.
channels, right? We do Facebook, we do LinkedIn, we do TikTok, we do YouTube, we do Google, we do all that stuff. But I always say like you first need to be able to nail organic before going into paid. If you can't nail organic, don't go into paid because you're going to waste a lot of money before finding a successful paid strategy or campaign. So being able to effectively like distribute your message through organic channels, whether it is like LinkedIn on LinkedIn posts, or it is some form of community, or it's a Reddit, or even SEO like content marketing. If you can't do that, then probably your story or the thing that you're trying to sell, you're not doing a good enough job yet to go into paid.
Okay, so first nailing organic is for you key before moving into paid, because that's where your learnings come in, and then you move into paid.
And then other people could say, well, yeah, but paid is a way to test the grounds faster. That's true. But you need more resources. So if resources are limitless, go ahead and burn your money on paid, that's fine. But often we work with companies, startups, scale-ups, they do have resources, but not like the big corporations. And yeah, they need to be smart with their marketing budget. So in that case, I always try to discover an organic route first and see if we can find, like if we can get like the positive signals that the stuff that we're saying resonates, then yeah, obviously I'm the first person to say let's go paid and distribute more of it faster.
Yeah, interesting, because indeed most growth hacking agencies or growth marketing, growth marketing agencies, they do tend to rely more on paid because it's almost as, that performance. I see a lot of things happening in Belgium, maybe in Holland as well, where performance marketing agencies suddenly became growth hacking agencies or growth marketing agencies.
That's the thing,
and
right?
They're like, okay, now we also do growth marketing, by the way.
Yeah, that's I find it so funny. I see it in the Netherlands all the time. Some older legacy agency, sometimes first doing B2C only, like e-commerce, and then now they are a B2B growth marketing agency, but all their case studies say e-commerce and D2C, and I'm like, what? Wait, what? Where?
How
What
did this
happened over
happen?
here? Like, where's your expertise in B2B? Because it seems like you only have expertise in B2C, which is a completely different game.
Maybe they
But
tend to
apparently,
disagree on that.
I guess
They're like, oh, it's marketing.
the B2B growth marketing or the growth marketing category is just very popular.
Oh, they saw that a new word comes in and they're like, well, I think we can do that. And technically,
Yeah,
it looks like Facebook ads as well. So let's try that.
let's rename and let's go.
Shit. No, I see the same thing in Belgium. They're like, suddenly all these growth marketing agencies pop up. And it's like, okay, so how did that go? So he just gave it a new name. That's it.
That's it.
And for people that like want to, because it's back in the days and still like most people wanted to become like this T-shaped marketer. That's
Yeah.
what they really wanted to become.
Mhm.
The T-shaped, and then have deep
Of course.
skills.
Yeah.
Is that still relevant for B2B marketers, or do you just not believe into a T-shaped marketer?
I definitely believe in the T-shaped marketing model, 100%. I guess, how we approach it at Unmuted, our customers work with a growth marketing manager, and the growth marketing manager will have a T-shaped profile, right? They won't be a specialist in all areas. They will have some expertise of like the whole range of skills and possibilities, but they will be really good at one or two things, or maybe three or four things. For one growth marketing manager, they're really good at advertising channels. Another growth marketer could be better in marketing automation. Another growth marketer could be better in copywriting and a bit of design, a little bit of a graphic background. But what we do here, like our customers, they work with one growth marketing manager, but the growth marketing managers, they collaborate with all the other growth marketing managers. So together they have like a massive shape of skills, and they can ask their colleagues and asking like, hey, you are really good at this. I think there's a big opportunity at my client. Could you help me execute it properly? So that way you can tap into each other's strengths.
But that means that a T-shape becomes more a T-shaped team and not a T-shaped one-person marketer.
Yeah, in a way. Well, yeah, I think with a team you can cover, like with the T-shapes in your team, you can cover all the different skills and execute everything on a high level.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely still believe in it. I mean, you can't be good at everything. It's just impossible. So the T-shape is just a fact, I guess.
So as a marketer, you do still believe that we should move into a T-shaped world where you pick one, maybe two things where you deep dive into, which is your interest, and then you learn around, at least on a high level, what it is. So you know that if the opportunity comes, you know at least to a high level what is expected and how it would work.
Yeah, I think so. And the longer you work in growth marketing, yeah, you will widen your T-shape in that sense. So maybe at some point you think, okay, I'm not the best copywriter yet, but this year is going to be my copywriting year, and you're going to spend a lot of time studying copywriting, reading all the books, joining the communities, and maybe after a year or two you gain those skills, and then you're a more senior you're a very well-rounded growth marketer, and yeah, that I guess that's how you evolve. In B2B, especially because not at all B2B companies, obviously, but at most B2B companies, the transaction volume, it's way lower than in e-commerce, for example, right? So a lot of B2B SaaS companies, they I don't know, get 10 customers a month, 100 customers a month, but not like 10,000 orders a day. So the data set is way smaller. And that also means that room for optimization is way smaller. It could just be that what you have set up in B2B is just good. It resonates with your niche target market, and you don't have to change the landing page every other week to see if you can squeeze out even more performance. So, like, we are pretty good at what we do, but on all the different skills, I wouldn't call ourselves a true hardcore specialist, but I also don't think it's needed that much in B2B as how it's needed in B2C, if that makes sense.
Because the volumes are smaller, right? Because maybe you're not talking about 10,000 orders, but hundreds. So it's better
The volumes are smaller, and especially like when if it's a customer where account-based marketing is a good fit, you typically have a very narrow audience. If you have a narrow audience and you manage to narrow down your marketing campaigns to this audience, then at some point you know what to say to that audience. Where if you focus on consumers, your audience is it's a very, very wide range of different type of people, personality types, buyer persona, right? That stuff then really starts to matter. So you really need to go all in on all these different customer segments. Where in B2B, especially in a setting where ABN makes sense, the audience is already quite narrow, and maybe you have a few different industries, like a few different verticals, but it's already quite narrow. So yeah, I don't believe you have to be like the ultimate specialist to make a LinkedIn ads campaign work in B2B. I mean, yes, you need to know your way around LinkedIn ads very properly, but I'm not sure if you need to have like the LinkedIn wizard to at least make it work.
What do you believe that, I mean, jumping into LinkedIn then as a channel, what do you believe that you do need to make it successful? Like if you don't need to be the specialist, maybe like the technical specialist in setting everything up, what do you feel is the skill set, or what do you need in order to actually make a success out of it?
So first of all, you need to know you need to know like why people care for your product. So the hook, most important thing. So what's the story that you're trying to tell, and why does the receiving end care about this story? Like that's the 101. Then okay, you have to give it shape and form in terms of copywriting and creative, but okay, that's doable. Targeting is then the second step that I'd say it's make or break, especially in LinkedIn. We do a lot of like exact match audiences, so we really predefine which companies and which like function titles or skill sets matter in the audience, and we don't do like very like broad, almost like inbound type of setup where we create a large audience and think, hey, maybe we can attract some clicks and then hopefully we can convert them on the landing page. No, we set up the campaign in a way that we already know that every company that's going to be targeted is a potential customer. So every euro that we spend on this audience, we spend generating demand within our target audience. So every euro is spent well. So I think that's like the hook, the creative and the copy, and the targeting. Yeah, those are the three elements. And then if you get a lot of performance out of your LinkedIn ads campaign, you did a good job. But probably also the product that you're promoting is just something that's top of mind for your target audience. You could still do a good job in creating a good hook or offer, writing good copy, doing good visuals, mastering your targeting. But if the product is just not something that people are looking for right now, or not like they haven't discovered the category yet, it can be a pretty slow process. Not something that you can fix with a incredible LinkedIn ads campaign, for example.
You can't put a microphone on something that doesn't work from the start.
Yeah.
And I guess as an agency, because I know you do, I guess LinkedIn ads, but also just LinkedIn organic and content posting. Have you encountered like companies that are like hesitant to start? Could be paid, could be organic. Like, what are the things that as an agency you saw that people didn't want to start with LinkedIn?
Almost like it's very weird. On one hand, all our customers want to start with LinkedIn ads. On the other hand, if you explain them how the platform works and what they can expect, and also definitely not expect, and what it will cost for like a minimum viable campaign, they sometimes they get a little bit anxious and hesitant. And then after 3 months or 2 months, they're like, okay, we're getting a little bit nervous here, while we are looking at the data and assessing it and thinking, this is going great. Your target audience is engaging, they're learning, they're consuming the ads, they're seeing the ads, they're like being targeted with the ads with a good frequency. So probably in 3, 4, 5, 6 months time from now, when they shift from not even aware into ready to buy mode, they will think of your company and they will go to Google. They will Google your name and your category solution. They will end up on your website. The website will have some similarities with the ad, so they recognize, and they will go to the demo form immediately, fill it out, and talk to sales. and then your HubSpot report will say organic traffic or Google Ads traffic or something like that. But actually, yeah, you made that person think of your company through the LinkedIn ads, and maybe the LinkedIn ads report won't show a demo request attribution, but who cares? You got the demo, right?
Yeah, I saw that LinkedIn post from you where you said something about the buyer's journey. You said, okay, LinkedIn, they're scrolling in the bathroom, and
Oh
then
yeah,
after a few months they come back and they're like, okay, they click on a branded campaign through Google. CRM says, wow, Google is doing amazing. The SCA team gets a huge shout out, and they're like, this is a branded campaign, but fuck it, we're just going to report it back in.
literally the case, and we see it all the time, and we do try to keep a pulse. It's very hard to tell this LinkedIn ad campaign turned into this demo request. But and that's a question that we get almost every week from a customer. So which demo requests came through the LinkedIn ads? And then I always have to go back to that person and say, okay, we have to, just like with a small kid, we're gonna talk through it again. It's not a linear process. It's not a linear process, right? It's not. I see the ad. I wake up. I see an ad, and I buy a very expensive software solution. That's not how it goes. You wake up.
Would be great,
You're
by the
being
way.
targeted, and you're seeing the ads, and you see it over the course of a couple of months. You read a good blog, and you see this webinar, and you read some review site maybe, and your manager complains about the fact that there's still not a solution for this problem, and that's what builds the interest in a solution, and then at some point, yeah, obviously you go and you think, okay, it's enough. I'm now gonna sign up, but you're not gonna go and then go to your LinkedIn feed and scroll until you found that ad, and you think like, okay, now I'm gonna click on this ad that I kept seeing, and then I'm gonna click that ad and fill out that form. No, you're just gonna go to Google and type in the brand name, and then that's how you convert.
As I was talking about in the last podcast with Gary, that I think one of the issues we always encounter as marketers is that most marketing managers or whatever you want to call them, or CEOs, don't understand the difference between demand generation and demand creation. Demand capturing and demand creation. That they believe that they can all capture the whole market with just demand, capturing, and everybody types in Google. But most of the time in B2B, there's not that much demand that is there to be captured, depending on what the ticket size is. But if you're selling software of 500K per year, I mean, chances are that there's a limited amount of people in this world looking for something that they can pay 500K towards. So
100%.
In that sense, it's very hard to explain. It's like, okay, this is demand capturing. Okay, now this is demand generation. It works a little different now. The linear process is not people type something in Google and they're like, okay, I need some more information. That's not how it works.
I mean, sometimes things can just click, like, aha, we need this. This is great. Sometimes it happens. That's great.
Yeah.
That's the 1%, right? That's the 1% of people that are in market today or in this period. Most of them aren't even aware that they have a problem. Most of them aren't even aware that there's an opportunity. Most of them, they can also think, well, looks nice, but it sounds like a lot of time and effort, so I'll just skip it, like maybe next year or something like that. There's also companies that are very open to buying a solution, but not this year, because this year they have to redo some ERP system, which is more important, and they don't have enough time and resources to also do X right now, but they're more than happy to do it in January. So they're already open to buy. They just don't want to talk to sales because then they just don't want to. So your job as a marketer is also to keep entertaining this person every week, every day, every week, every month with different bits and pieces. And it serves a little bit like as a smart to-do list, right? Like people in startups, they work with Asana or with Notion, and they write down a task and they click on a due date, which is somewhere in the future. But most people don't do that stuff. So they see it today and they're like, oh yeah, that would be great in Q1. But they don't write it down in Asana and put a reminder in Q1. No. So your job as a marketer is to be that Asana or that due date, like task list manager, but then in a news feed or through a newsletter or through a good content publication.
I love the example of Asana.
Yeah.
Your job as marketer is to be like Asana.
Yeah.
But it is true. It is definitely true that is not how it works, first of all. But indeed, and on top of that, sometimes in big corporates, there's budget years. So they're like, I mean, this thing is not even budgeted for this year. So you need to
Exactly.
make a business case even internally, try to sell it, get all the stakeholders around it, and say, okay, this is the budget we would need. Can we put that on the budget of next year? Because that's not even this year; it's next year.
Exactly.
And if you look at the companies that succeed on LinkedIn, or at least you feel they're succeeding, what could you describe them? Would you say, okay, these type of companies are mostly succeeding on LinkedIn? I'm just saying they have an average deal size of X, or they start content marketing way ahead, or stuff like that.
I don't know if you need a typical deal size to be successful on LinkedIn. Obviously, you see a lot of companies with a, a bit larger deal size be successful on LinkedIn because they do have the resources. I think if you would start a B2B SaaS company today and you have a very cheap offer like 10, 20, 30 euros a month, you will have a very, very hard time scaling it because acquisition channels will get more expensive every year. But if you have a bit more room, so the offer is 200, 300, 400 euros a month subscription, I'm 100% sure that there will be a nice margin to do sales and marketing. And then LinkedIn could be a good place to be, especially for LinkedIn ads. I've seen you posting about it as well. The average ACV you would need to have in order to be able to run and scale LinkedIn ads successfully. I do agree, but I also think that even if you would have a smaller ACV, it could help already to run a pretty cheap, very, very niched down account-based marketing campaign and just have a very low frequency of 1 or 2 even per month. I know that that's below the barrier of even noticing it. But for like I'll give you an example. I used to work with a fintech company, and they had a sales cycle of 12 to 36 months. Extremely long. And all they asked us when we started collaborating is if we could create a couple of more touch points other than their emails. So they kept sending emails to their prospects. Hey, how's it going? Long time no see. Shall we catch up? Shall we catch up? No? Oh, maybe next week. Oh, next month. And they themselves thought this must be so boring for the receiving end. So can we please just create some additional touch points that are not our emails? And okay, their ACV was pretty high, so they could afford it. But yeah, if you're in a similar situation, I think it could make sense to create these other touch points so people have heard of your brand before in different places than only email, which is kind of a capture platform in that sense. So yeah, I don't know if you need to have a certain deal size to be successful on LinkedIn, but yeah, the more resources you have, the easier
The
because
better.
the better. I mean, the same. I don't know what your experience is with that, but for me, well, I wouldn't say that I don't believe in companies be successful in LinkedIn ads and not doing any organic, but I definitely believe in doing LinkedIn organic and LinkedIn ads will make everything more successful. Doing LinkedIn organic takes time because you need to commit to it, doing it on a weekly basis or on a daily basis. Create
Yeah.
nice and entertaining content both for your company page, because you don't want that page to look dead, but also for your personal profile and maybe for some colleagues. And being able to execute that organic strategy, it just takes quite some time and resources. So the companies that do put the resources in both organic and paid, I think that's at least the foundation for success.
Yeah, indeed. I always talk about it in the LinkedIn course where we say there's a three-sided model place
Yeah.
where the three sides are inbound, which is content marketing, posting on the company page or personal profiles, that we all know that personal profiles. There's some good cases as well, but personal profiles tend to get more attention. And then you have the outbound play, which is the one-to-one connection, sending DMs, trying to spam people along the way, or at least it's what most people do. And then you have the LinkedIn ads, and of course, if you can pull off all three, that's a big win. But what I do see is that people, like companies, they look at the three and they're like, okay, what's the easiest to execute? Because LinkedIn ads, you need to be quite really technical, but you need to be a little bit technical, and you need to have some basic knowledge of advertising. The content marketing just takes time. So they're like, what's the thing? What is that other thing left? Oh, we can send like personal messages and we can automate this. Man,
Let's go.
And then it goes wrong.
Yeah, I think you point out the point of LinkedIn is that people are trying to shortcut by just doing one part. So
Exactly.
there are a lot of examples of founders that say, yeah, but I got a big network on LinkedIn, but it's not working yet. Yeah, you're not posting. Like, it's not that people go and visit their connections all day. Right. Or you have the founders that say, okay, I'm gonna post on LinkedIn, but they only have high school friends as connections, or like former colleagues that are not in the same industry as their current business. So yeah, I think you need to do everything. You need to build up the relevant network. You need to post relevant stuff that's relevant to your target audience, and then you can accelerate and amplify through LinkedIn ads.
Yeah, totally agree. I think you should have at least the two running, like the outbound and the inbound at the same time. So those are because you can't, like, if you're creating content, but you don't have the right network to whatever you're posting about to see it, it doesn't make sense. But if you're doing outbound, then the only thing, and you're not doing the content marketing, then you're just spamming, because then like you only have this connection, and then the rest of the DMs you're trying to automate, and then it just screws up your reputation. So you need that two together.
Yeah.
And then on top, I would say I would always start with those, and then add the LinkedIn ads on top, just to get the full picture. Because otherwise, I mean, you can't just be posting content and connecting. You can also only connect once. First of all, if they don't accept, well, you're kind of screwed there as well. Anyways.
Yeah.
I think the alarm is going off here, by the way, but let's see where that goes. But if it's not too much dangerous, it's fine. I just wanted to see, like, is there any companies, like B2B companies, where you feel like they are doing like great marketing on LinkedIn? Like anything you follow, or companies you're like, wow, this is a good example?
Yeah. So I think it's the example most people would give. I'm a big fan of Gong.
Yeah, no,
They're doing
cool.
well. I think metadata is pretty cool. Cognism, pretty solid. And I think they're all like their teams, their employees, they're posting on LinkedIn frequently. They run really nice LinkedIn ads that don't look like ads. So it's like recordings of these types of sessions where somebody said something smart, and they run it as an ad. So I think that's cool. I love that Gong is using, like, they're doing sort of product-led content on
Hmm.
LinkedIn. I don't know if
What
that's
is
even a term.
product-led content? What do you mean with that?
So they take a lot of insights from their platform, and then they turn it into LinkedIn posts. So, for
Mm.
example, they show graphs of if you would curse during a sales call or during a demo, how that could affect like what correlation it does have on a positive outcome, and then the graph shows that like when you say fuck on a demo call, it will increase your demo win rate. So like I think that's hilarious. I think that's a nice form of entertainment, but then also tied back into their platform, because it obviously screams like, hey, we have more of these golden nuggets if you would sign up for our platform. But if you don't want to, then at least you learned something today. And I think that's what marketing is all about. Either help
I love that
somebody
example, by the
learn.
way. It's
Yeah,
uh,
I think it's really cool.
it's what a lot of I feel companies do wrong is that they have so much data most of the time about their customers. It doesn't
Mm,
have to be one specific use case, but
yeah,
there's so many. For example, at Mr. Green, you could have like easily made a report of how many people buy a blue car or a yellow car or
yeah,
whatever car it is, and then
yeah,
and build a report or a funny story around that. And there's companies sitting on this massive data of their use case or their user base that they
yeah.
could use as insights for new acquisition channels.
Yeah, that's so like those are the insights. If you have a platform, I would look into those types of data points where you could create a social post where people can either learn or identify, hey, this piece of data is so like mission critical. We need more of these data points. I'm going to sign up. So for the people that were already looking for a solution, such a post could even drive signups, but in most cases it will make people think, aha, that's interesting. I learned something. Thank you, company XYZ. See you next time. And I think that's when
Exactly.
marketing is done the right way.
I think it comes back to our next topic, which I would love to talk is the product-led. I wouldn't say it's product-led growth or product-led content. We could call it whatever we want.
Yeah.
But I love some examples. For example, I think one of the examples is HubSpot with the email signature. Um, in the email signature website, where they basically say, well, we have this feature in our HubSpot account which allows people to create signatures. Why don't we just take that and put it
Yeah.
on a separate website? We have that code anyways. We make it a little bit beautiful. And actually, the first time I saw it was 2017 or 18, looking very ugly, but it did the trick. And it got a huge amount of traffic. And then the second one was Shopify. When you log into Shopify, it shows you like a map of all the places where people are visiting your website um, or checking you out or making sales or where there's a checkout going on. They just put that like globe, I would call it, and they just put that into like a separate product where they said, hey, this is where all the orders are shipping from. And so you
Yeah.
would have a real-time view of all the shipping orders. And I just love these gimmicks because that's people, that is interest to people, and you're solving like one specific little problem about your customer that they could sign up for later.
Exactly.
Um, Maybe going into like growth hacking, because but before going into that, I want to know, like, I mean, you have a team now, right? How big is Muted right now?
We're 6 people now.
6 people. So, I mean, you've hired then five, I assume. Um, how does that process look like, and what do you look for when you're hiring a marketer?
Um, when I look when I look for a marketer to hire, um, there's a couple of personality aspects that I'm always seeking. Actually, one is I like self-taught people, so people that can like tool agnostic, like tactic agnostic. They understand marketing as a principle, and they're able to understand what they want to achieve, and that they are aware of the things that they don't know, and they know how to find out how the things work that they don't know themselves.
Hmm.
So I'm always very curious if a person is able to use Google properly, for example.
A stupid example, but great. Yeah.
Very, very straightforward example. Like how do you Google? So we're from the Netherlands, right? It's pretty easy to Google stuff in Dutch. But Googling stuff in English will give you way better results because there's more content being produced in English. So
Yeah.
that's like those are the small things that I look for. Like how smart can a person be in discovering like what they want to learn? Because working in growth marketing, it's just learning a ton of shit all day, finding out how things work, finding out how things don't work,
Hmm.
test, adjust, iterate. So self-taught people, I like them. People that can work autonomously, I like it as well. You need to be a clear communicator, like very, very easy and clear communicator. One of the aspects of our hiring process, for example, is a growth challenge. It's a case. We time box it, and the time boxing really allows me to review the result, knowing that they had very limited time to work on the case. And if they did a good job, then probably they're very good at finding insights, answers, or coming up with ideas on the fly.
I like
But one
that.
thing
I like the time boxing thing.
yeah, the time box, like so after the growth challenge, I also asked people to record a Loom video, 5 minutes, explaining their approach or explaining how what they made of the growth challenge. And in such a Loom video, you can already see, okay, is this person capable of A, coming up with an idea, and B, talking me through it in a way that I understand it. And the concept that they come up with, or the strategy or the approach or the campaign, it doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be accurate. But what I always like in people is when they record the Loom video, for example, and that they then talk me through their reasoning or their decision making. And decision making, there can be mistakes, or they could have interpreted the business case in the wrong way. That doesn't matter. But if you can like speak out, okay, I made my decision in this way. This is why, like I took this assumption, and I think this is a good hypothesis. Then yeah, those are the right skills. And I mean, I can remember I once had to like let go one team member after a month already, and yeah, he like I shared the growth challenge with him back then, and then but I gave him like a week to work on it. Yeah,
Yeah, in a week you can do a lot, and technically you could also get a lot of
yeah,
help in the in
yeah.
between.
Of course. I mean, he was a good guy, um, but it just turned out not to be the right fit, and that was okay. I think he's in a better place right now, and that's fine.
I think that's always like people see being fired as a bad thing, but actually I think it's like
No,
one of the greatest thing that could happen to you. Uh,
I
just means
agree.
you're not in the right place to be yourself and be what you want to do, and it gives you the opportunity to do something new.
Yeah.
Um, but getting on your point of Googling, I had a funny experience there as well. That I asked a question, it was something around Google Tag Manager. I think it was like, how to track something through Google Tag Manager, whatever. And the person said, look, I absolutely have no clue, but give me 1 minute. And during the interview, the person really, he literally just went to Google, started Googling things. And then within a minute, he had the answer. Like, I think this is the answer. And I still remember that moment. I'm like, wow, that is the reflex that people should have. If like,
Yeah.
first of all, admitting that you don't know something is already a huge power. Knowing that I don't know it, but I'm gonna figure it out, and actually being able to use Google in within a minute to get the answer, that's like a home run at the same time.
That's like That's the golden skill.
That's the golden scale. No, it's true. But I love the Googling. So basically, if I understood, like, how well can you Google? If I understood right,
Yeah.
more about communication is like, okay, you could have all the technical skills you want, but if you can't properly communicate it to your client, especially in an agency, I feel
Yeah.
you need to be able to at least bring something very complicated into something very easy. Although it
Yeah.
sounds very easy to you, it is not easy for a client at most of the times.
Literally.
And then the time boxing and the loom approach, I really love that one, because indeed we used to have business cases as well, but we wouldn't time boxes, and indeed it gives a whole different scenario to it. If like, what is a solution you can come up with within 1 hour? Because you're actually also testing at the same time the speed of learning. How
Yeah.
fast can you learn something on the job while you're doing it?
Exactly. Because it's going to be a big part of your job, so you better be good at it. And yeah, there's just one way to properly test it, and I think this is the way, at least for us.
And you were speaking about an experience where you let somebody go, like after a month. Like, what was, I wouldn't say wrong with the person because that sounds weird, but what was something like, why was it not a match, and how did you spot that it wasn't a match?
There was nothing wrong with the person. He was a good guy. He was junior, and it was my mistake. I shouldn't have hired him because he was too junior, and the service level the quality level, the service level that we strive for in execution, it's pretty damn high at Unmuted, and it took I noticed that he was struggling picking up that pace that we already had, and then I saw a too big of a risk that it would take. It could be that he would have thrived after 2 or 3 months. It could have also been that it would have taken him like 6 to 12 months, and at that point in my company, I couldn't take that bet. So yeah, I think it was in a way my fault in not assessing that properly before going into that collaboration. Um, but yeah, that was the case. And again, I think he's in a better position now than he would have been with us. So it's just sometimes it just happens.
It always works like that. Like eventually
Yeah.
when you're let go or you leave, somehow you're always in a better position than before, or you just don't realize it because you have
Yeah.
never been there, technically.
Yeah, of course.
And just on the last topic, because I want to still have one very important question for you. But talking about growth hacking and B2B marketing mistakes. So I know growth hacking really comes from, I feel, the B2C space. So it's
Right.
really about the Airbnb, and then you see this Cracklist hack that they did, or the Hotmail where they had the signature hack, and all the fun stuff. Do you feel like growth hacking, but you call it growth marketing? I'm really curious why you made that switch to not growth hack it, but growth market it. Do you feel it's relevant? And is there like, well, what is like the important nuance? And I guess your important nuance is that you want to call it marketing and not hacking. Why do you put that nuance on it?
So, like I mentioned earlier in the session, I just don't like the word hacking or growth hacking. I'm a marketer focusing on growth. So, growth marketing is the perfect description for what we do. In both cases, growth hacking and growth marketing, it's a process and it's a mindset and it's an approach. And it works in B2C and it works in B2B. So the tactics that worked in B2C don't always work in B2B. That makes a lot of sense. Vice versa as well. A lot of tactics that work in B2B probably don't work in B2C. So if you see growth marketing or growth hacking, if you will, as a process, an approach, and a mindset, then yes, of course, it works in B2B. If you see it as a set of tactics that a bunch of companies did 10 years ago, it's not going to work in B2C, it's not going to work in B2B.
So I guess the nuance here is if you see it more as a mindset and a strategy point, yes.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from a tactical, so if you would have like a tactical database of all, growth hacks, you would almost call it, that
Yeah.
wouldn't work.
That wouldn't work. I always say
Awesome.
tactics expire. Tactics expire.
Yeah.
They spoil before you even try using them. So you need to like pick up the pace, invent your own tactics that are relevant to your product, to your target audience, and that makes sense in your like budget capabilities. And that's where you try and come up with cool tactics, and you just test them. Some work, some won't, and that's the process of experimentation. And I think that's part of growth marketing.
Nice. Okay, I agree on that one. A last question. It's a statement, basically.
Very well.
And it's a weird question. I'm going to give you some time to think about this. So it's a question I love to ask is, what is an important truth you feel is true, but very few people agree with you on? Let me repeat the question. So what important truth do you feel is true, but very few people agree with you on this? Take some time to think about it. I'll give you an example of mine in the meantime, basically.
I think I have one. I think I have
Yeah,
one.
that would be great.
I think I have one. So I think there's a growing amount of people that actually do agree with me on this. But a couple of years ago, if you would have said that growth marketing is not about data, a lot of people would disagree with me. I think I'm the least data-driven growth marketer you will ever find. Like, I look in Google Analytics from time to time, but other than that, it's a lot based on signals. I use signals way more than hardcore data in growth marketing. So I think you can definitely use data to inform yourself, but to be absolutely data driven, you have to work at a WeTransfer type of company with millions or billions of data points. If you work in a B2B, like typical B2B SaaS company, data is nice to keep a pulse, but please do not be data driven in everything that you do.
And can you just find an example? Because I love the example. What would be a signal, basically? What define a signal? Or give an example of a signal that you recently had.
Yeah, getting DMs on LinkedIn. So at Unmuted, we haven't spent a single euro on advertising for Unmuted as a company. So we're in business 2 years, grown 100% year over year, organic. We don't have a marketing meeting. We don't have a marketing dashboard. We don't have marketing metrics. We don't track anything. Zero. But what we do, it works. And I know it works because we have customers, they stay, we get cool engagement on LinkedIn. There's people commenting on our posts saying that they are fans of Unmuted. We have people commenting on our post, tagging their friends. Hey, are you following Unmuted already? They have really cool content. That to me is way more valuable as a point of like reference to what we're doing is good than logging into Google Analytics or some other attribution report and finding out how our KPIs are doing. I have no clue what our KPIs are. No clue.
Okay, but that's a good one, actually. But I guess for you then, the signal is basically, if you have 3 customers being a big fan, that would be a lot more worth than, somebody saying, okay, our organic reach was like a little bit 10% higher last month than this month.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you could write this blog article, rank for an extremely tough keyword, and be very proud of it. But if it's not attracting your target audience, then who cares about 5,000 extra website visitors on a monthly basis? If you write a blog article that's targeting a keyword that you can't even bid on in Google Ads because the volume is so low, but you do attract 2 or 3 readers every month that are looking for a solution to a very specific problem, that's gold, right? So numbers and reach, it doesn't really matter. It's about relevance and quality. Relevance and quality over data and highly inflated numbers. any day of the week.
Which is harder to measure, basically, because they're
Super
not
hard to
quantifiable.
measure and very, very boring to report on in meetings because everybody likes to see it like big graphs and large numbers, right? Because large numbers feels like a safer bet because there must be a person within that large audience that is relevant, right? Other than those 3 or 4 people that visit your website, and there's a very low chance that they will ever convert until they do. And that's what I'm seeing, that yeah, you get more business out of those like very, very relevant pieces of content or very relevant campaigns, as opposed to those spray and pray type of campaigns that look good on paper, but not on a bank account.
That look good in the graphs, and then they have a lot of leads coming from or customers from organic, and they're all like puzzled. Or I was like, what
Yeah.
just happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, lovely. Well, thank you very much, Max van den Ingh. Still trying to pronounce that right until today. But so thank you very much for coming on, and I would love to catch up later on. I'm just gonna pause here and stop there.